Hi, I'm Cameron Bonzi. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Coast to Maine Brands, and I am here today with Farmer Steph, Farm to Table Kids. It is fall, Steph. It's cold. How are you doing?
Fall in Maine. It's the best season. It
It
is the
is.
best season. No one can argue with me.
No, I agree. There's a lot of good things that happen in the fall with the
You
garden.
know, you know what's awesome about I was gonna say the beginning of September, but realizing we're in September 23rd, and I'm just gonna say all of September is great because it's Dahlia season, which is my favorite.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about, I wasn't even thinking about that.
That's why I wanted to bring it up because a lot of people think like, oh, it's towards the end of the season. But for a lot of things, it's just starting, baby. Like the dahlias are just starting. I would say like half of them haven't even opened yet for me to label their dahlia tubers, which always happens. But again, it's one of those things where it's kind of, you think we're ending the season or like turning the corner toward the end, but
Yep.
lots of guys are just starting to come into their season. So I just want to give a shout out to all of the fall crops out there that have been working so hard.
Well, and that's what, as you had explained to me with our little, 30-second prep before we turn this on, that we were going to be talking about cool weather prep, but then you're also going to be talking about plants that get better with the cold.
Yeah.
So obviously dahlias is one of those.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with cool weather prep, or do you want to jump over to plants that get better with the cold?
Let's start talking about the plants.
That's
Let's
what
go with
it seemed like you were focused on that.
well, just because we started off kind of talking about how it's cool, and I don't want to give people the impression that the season's over by
No,
any means. So
no.
let's talk about what grows really well during this time of season and in this kind of weather. So here in Maine, so we're in zone 5B. So anybody in New England or upper Midwest, zone fives or so, are kind of in this similar weather pattern where we have strong seasons. So
Yeah.
I love our seasons. Personally, as a farmer in New England, I overwinter some things, but as a busy mom, I don't overdo it either. So some of the things that I like to do to make sure I have greens throughout the winter, that has to happen now. So you'll see I have this little crate here. This is a box that I have right now. It just has mint and portulaca in it because I pick from that when I want to make a fancy
Yep.
tea. But what I'm going to do is take this out, and I'm actually going to seed cilantro in here. Cilantro is an awesome, cool weather, cool hardy crop that I will actually bring into my kitchen. So this I'll plant now. I'll put it either in my greenhouse or even on the patio here. You don't have to have a greenhouse to grow this. You can plant it, leave it out, and it will actually grow nice cilantro for you to be able to harvest throughout the winter months. You can do that with cilantro, basil. If you have things like rosemary, thyme, and
Yep.
oregano, dig those up in your garden and start bringing them in. I start potting things into pots to bring them into my house. So start walking through your garden, see some of the herbs that are nice and developed. Just because snow is coming doesn't mean they have to die. You can
Right.
absolutely transplant your herbs and bring them into the kitchen. Other things that do really well in the field right now during the season, you heard us start talking about dahlias. Dahlias are coming into their own. Now that your dahlias are starting to open, if you see a variety that you love and you want to remember what it is, what I love to do is take blue painter's tape, go at the base of that plant, put the blue tape painter's tape around the base of the plant and write what variety it is. Write down if it's a cafe au lait or a golden scepter. You're going to want to remember that. And the painter's tape is the perfect way. If you put it at the base, frost, or whenever the plant dies back, you'll be able to still have that tag and it'll stay on.
So obviously it'll last even through a tough winter season.
Yep. And then things like dahlias, it's really hard because they thrive late in the season, and
Yep.
then we might get a really weird, really early cold frost,
Yep.
and they die with frost, just like basil. They're so sensitive to frost. If you think about it, their tubers originate, I think, on the equator in Mexico, so they're not going to go through frost really well. So because of that, I also take these metal hoops They're very flexible. You can get them at any hardware store. And then I get Remay, which is a permeable white
Oh,
cloth,
yeah.
and you just put
Yep.
those over your dahlias. If you don't have hoops or Remay and you just have a little garden in the back and you don't want to get fussy, if you have frost coming, just put a bed spread, like a bed sheet on those flowers, and that's fine too. And you can do that with your dahlias, tomatoes, basil, anything that's sensitive to cold. If you just throw a sheet over early in the season, a hard frost isn't gonna affect that.
That's awesome. The
But you know, Cameron, other vegetables in the garden that thrive once
that's what I
they
was just going to ask you.
yeah,
Yes,
once
that's what
they
I wanted
start
to
to
get
get
to.
cold weather,
Yeah.
things like spinach, carrots,
Yep.
root veggies, once they get cold into their system, they transfer carbohydrates into sugars and they actually do turn sweeter. So something like carrot, radish, kale, spinach, they do so well in the cold.
Yeah, it's actually just thinking out loud here too, is that we also work with Richard Hodges at Back to School Gardens. So that's another thing for schools to be thinking about too, is that they can be doing the same thing if they're working and doing gardens now, which I hope they are. And of course, we donate to those gardens through the Growing Good program. So it all works.
That's right.
What other plants get better? You know,
I love that you brought up the school gardens, like watermelon radish. People love watermelon radish, but that only grows in the fall. You can't grow watermelon radish in the spring or the summer because it needs the cool weather temps. So things like watermelon radish, bok choy is another one that's like exceptionally crunchy and delicious in the fall. Any kind of carrot, any kind of spinach, like winter density or space spinach, is fantastic. It has like an extra thickness to it when it's grown in the cold. It's just so good. So enjoy your tomatoes and your peppers and the basil and all the warm weather crops. By all means, harvest those babies and process them and get your harvest preserved for the season. But then also don't run out of steam and just know that there are so many crops still in your garden producing for you that are going to continue to produce. So keep harvesting them, because as you harvest, they're cut and come again. So they'll continue to produce for you. So go get your kale and go get your Swiss chard and keep harvesting those babies, because that'll go straight through a couple snowfalls.
So I love the cut and come again term that you use. And what you were also talking about, what else are we going to do now to prep? What are we doing for prep?
Okay, so as you're harvesting those warm weather veggies like your basil and your tomato and your peppers, once you see those plants are done and they're not producing anymore, go ahead and take them out of your soil. You want to be able to have your soil kind of keep its health and its nutrients in there right now. A good thing to do if you have a raised bed and you just spent, spring putting nice soil in there, what you don't want to do is take up a big root ball and remove all that soil from your nice garden or raised bed. A nice thing you can do this time of year is if you just cut the base of let's say you have a huge sunflower stalk and you want to pull that up out of your garden, it's going to bring up, especially sunflowers, they have enormous root balls. Same with tomatoes, because it's a tap root, it can kind of get really invasive. So what you want to do is just cut it at the base and let that root just sit there for 2 weeks. It'll either disappear, or if it's a huge sunflower stalk, you'll be able to just pull it up like it's a stick in the ground and it won't take any soil out. And you still have plenty of time before we're going to get any kind of snowfall or anything like that. So if you go through and just cut at the base, leave the roots intact in the ground, they'll continue to put nutrients in the ground, but it won't take any nutrients out because you just cut the plant off at the base.
That's awesome. It's funny because I listened to you and you mentioned before we got on the air, our director of operations, Felicia Newman, who
love her, #1 fan.
She's a market gardener. I know that a lot of people listening to this know her, and yes, she recently got a haircut, looks great, and because we did bring that up, and I'm going to be doing a podcast with her every week specifically about some of our products. But at some point, I think we need to do like a webinar roundtable with both you and her online, maybe live. I'm thinking about trying to, well, on YouTube. So we've tried to do some live stuff before, and we couldn't do it because of phone and technology and all that stuff. But now through our YouTube channel and the way we set up here, I think we can do something. So that might be something to look forward to, because the energy between you and Felicia, I swear to God, could fill any national electric grid.
Yeah.
I think it would just be positive energy that could run anything.
I love that. Felicia is, oh man, I love her. She is so smart. Costa Maine is so lucky to have her because she's like one of the smartest people in terms of agriculture in the state. Yeah, she's a treasure.
She's a treasure, and she's just positive, and yeah, she's smart, man. You know, I just sit here and ask kind of dumb questions and try to facilitate a conversation. And then I listen to you, I listen to her, and you're positive. It's just like, yeah, it's what it should be. It's
So
awesome.
good. But
Yeah.
I was looking at all of the goodies she brought into the Costa Maine
Oh yeah.
street thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, she had so many great tomatoes and basil. And it's the perfect time, you guys. This time of year is the perfect time to have a harvest party. So go ahead and like
Yes.
harvest the things from your garden and invite your friends over, or have like an after school special where you just like have people come over and enjoy your garden. Throw yourself a cocktail garden party before the season's over, but get out there and enjoy it. Like, you worked so hard for it. Like, get out there and enjoy it with people that you love.
I went to a harvest party, reminisce with my old friends. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll change the words, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we got just that positive energy. Do you have more things that you want to add here as we get some momentum going? Anything else that you
All
think?
right. Well, if there's any other seeds you want to add, like if there's some kind of, I would say if you're planting seeds right now in your garden with kids, you can definitely do radishes. They'll grow. Anything that says a germination date of more than 30 days, you're going to be hard pressed.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
you know, outside of radishes and bok choy, maybe save your seeds.
Yep.
But that being said, we were talking about once your warm weather veggies are done producing, go ahead and get that bed clear for next year. So what that means is you want to get cut down any kind of vines or plants in there. Like remove the root balls if you can, but if it's going to be a big root ball, go ahead and cut it at the base, leave it, and then go back for it 2 weeks later. And then other than that, top dress in the fall with compost and mulch. The best kind of mulch I love is leaf mulch, which is perfect here. You can see all the trees behind me. In my yard, we rake them all into a pile, and then I go over it with the John Deere, and I just chop them up with my mower, and then I throw them on the garden. And I swear, Cameron, leaf mulch is the best for the garden. It adds a nice like cover layer to it, like an insulator barrier. It's so fantastic. So if you can add mulch, anything that you've got in your backyard, whether it's from your compost pile itself, or if you're part of like a garbage to garden compost where they drop off each week for you. But go ahead, fall's perfect time to add compost. And then the spring is the perfect time to add things like Stonington blend and more like fertilizer feeds.
No, I mean, that's the organic material that people have right at their fingertips that they should be using. And again, yes, Costa Maine can help along the way, but use what you have in your own backyard and your local resources, because you've got it all right there. And then you can just use a little Costa Maine in the spring and you'll have a beautiful garden. So.
And then I think because we're turning the corner into October, I'll just go ahead and give my general pumpkin PSA announcement. Over the course of each year, over 1 billion pounds of pumpkins end up in landfills. And people often are like, what's the big deal? It's a pumpkin in a landfill. So isn't that natural? It's natural. But the thing is, it's not where they belong. 1 billion pounds of anything anywhere is too much. So 1 billion pounds of mushy pumpkin seed in a landfill is taking up 1 billion pounds of what should be waste in a landfill. So guys, when you have your pumpkins, by all means, cut them up, make your jack-o'-lanterns, have fun with it. But instead of putting it in your trash, compost them or throw them in your backyard so they can make more pumpkins next year. That's what I do. When we like hack up pumpkins and make our jack-o'-lanterns with the kids, I
Yep.
have them put the seeds in the backyard so either animals can get them or they'll just reseed next year and it'll be a nice surprise for us. But try not to put them in your trash.
Yeah, I mean, we can go off on a whole tangent about how much we all should be doing our own composting. I mean, it just saves so much.
Yeah.
And it does so much good for your backyard. It does so much good for you,
I mean, it's fun. Like if you think of it, all those little warty gourds that you get, or a swan neck gourd, or like a white snowball pumpkin, or a big jack-o'-lantern. Like, why take those seeds and put it in the trash? Put them in your backyard. Like they'll grow. So that's what I do. Like I have pumpkins lined all of the tree line here. I mean, they're gonna get seeds will get eaten,
Yep.
and they probably won't grow, but a few might, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I have obviously where I live, I got some woods around me. I'm not bothering anybody. So when I do that quite a bit, is throw that stuff out. I'm not bothering anybody. It's feeding a lot of things and it's breaking down. It's great. It's awesome. Of course, other people that live in a city don't have that option, but you can be doing
I don't
composting.
know, Cameron. I'd like to think if I lived in a city, I know I would definitely, like on my walking routes everywhere, I know I'd be throwing seeds down wherever I could. I'd be like Miss Rumphius in New York
Yeah.
City, just throwing seeds wherever I could.
Oh, that's a
Like,
good, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome, and but we just need to be conscious of those things, and hopefully people are getting more and more conscious about
yeah.
those things. I think people are. And
Yeah.
hopefully we're helping with that too. So
Conversations are about just like weekly, seasonal, top of mind, what's going on in the
yep,
garden, what's going on in your community. But I know that I see a lot of pumpkins going on, and that's great. Just please don't put them in the trash.
yep, agree 100%. So that was a great public service announcement. So, we'll make sure we tag that. I'll probably also be pointing out some of the Dahlia videos that you have done and some of the other videos we've done in the past. And, we'll talk next week. Take care of your family, take care of your yard, and keep doing a great job. I always love these conversations. So thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you guys for listening. We love doing these talks with you.
See you next week. Okay. I'm still recording.